be in a way an advantage to the villagers who have often complained about the distance to access the service, the distance to access the information, the distance to reach the meeting venue. So at the level of a parish, we assume that the issue of a distance will not be a matter anymore. And you can count the so many programs and interventions which government has implemented over the years in order to remove poverty from the grassroots people and everybody. I'm privileged to look at some of you having been part and parcel of the implementers of the other earlier programs, either directly or indirectly. So my major reason of being here is again to encourage you first of all to ensure that there is no corruption in that program in any way, on the part of the implementers, but also on the part of the beneficiaries. In the last government of 2016 to 2021, Uganda was supposed to leap to the middle income status, having implemented successfully the programs you are always talking about. We are always talking about, like OWC, like NAD, Women Fund, Youth Fund, Emioga, and Dandikwa. You can name them, there are so many. In northern Uganda, there are special ones. Northern Uganda Rehabilitation Plan, then restocking. But there are 7 regions in Uganda which let Uganda down, 7 sub-regions. Out of the sub-regions, Teso is one of them, Busoga is one of them, Bukedi is one of them. So I want to say that out of those 7 sub-regions, as the other ones already moved to the middle income status, all the other regions in Uganda moved to the middle income status. These 7 now, in the implementation of the parish development model, should implement the parish development model as perfectly as possible in order to catch up with the other regions, because the other regions have already reached that status, which is middle income. So coming from one of the regions which let Uganda down in the last 5 years, I feel indebted to keep reminding you, particularly you from the district where I come from, because information is shared, you also share with all members of other districts, that we must also move and get those the grassroots household out of poverty with the opportunity that we have got of the parish development model. I'd like to end here, but welcome you again. Come again and again whenever I'm around to have a conversation and a chat like this, so that I can get statistics and real technical plan of what the district needs, so that when I go and share with other bureaucrats, big bureaucrats, they can understand me so easily. Thank you very much for listening to me. I've said all this for God and my country.
Indeed, for God and my country. Now, in the area of vaccination, government is planning to start clinical trials of the locally made COVID-19 vaccine early next year. Minister for Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Monica Msenero, told the media that there are 4 types of COVID-19 vaccines in the offing. She was addressing the media on the 2021 Science and Innovation Week.
When COVID-19 pandemic hit the world in 2019, there have emerged global remedies to curb the spread of the virus and find a cure to the pandemic. African countries were left out to rely on donations. Government of Uganda research has just revealed as the country will carry out clinical trials early next year.
The vaccine work is going on very well, save just those few challenges of accessing. The scientists are working day and night, and I believe that we are going to see the Uganda-made vaccine contribute to COVID, because as you can see, COVID is still here. Estimated time, we have estimated times, but sometimes they change because these are biological processes. So the best I do is to tell you we have progressed. Within next year, we should have at least one of the vaccines tested through clinical trials.
There are 4 types of vaccines in the final stages being processed, with several tests ongoing on animals.
The final stage of testing in animals. The final step, there are multiple steps of testing in animals, but this particular vaccine, we are on that. After that stage, we'll go to the stage of manufacturing and we start testing in human beings.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation has organized inaugural Science and Innovation Awards to recognize outstanding innovators to support their realization. This competition is to be conducted in this Innovation Week, started today, the 2nd to the 9th of November.
Pathogen economy. The award in this category will go to innovators with innovations targeting disease control and management. The innovations include vaccines, drugs or therapeutics, as we call them, diagnostics. The engineering is aims at recognizing innovators with technology-related innovations in renewable energy. Gender mobility. These awards recognize innovations that augment the national mobility ecosystem.
This Science and Innovation Week will be utilized to create awareness by scientific think tanks about the frameworks in place to make sure science is catalyzed. Abdul Nasili Luwama, UBC News.
And at the airport, persistent delays in processing COVID-19 tests at Entebbe International Airport has compromised economic recovery. UBC TV News talks to Amos Wekesa, a private tourism stakeholder, to examine the resultant effects of the delay while processing various approaches on how to amicably manage the situation.
Amos Wekesa cautions that delays at Entebbe International Airport could cause thousands of tourists cancelling visits to Uganda should the current inconsistencies persist.
If I leave the US and I have to go through Dubai, spend 12 hours before I fly to your destination, chances of me coming to your country reduced by over 50%. So if you look at countries that have national carriers, have a higher chances of doing business than we do. If you look at Kenya, for example, before COVID, Kenya has probably 6-7 international airports. Jomo Kenyatta Airport was going towards 10 million passengers a year. Moi International Airport, which is in Mombasa, was doing close to 1.6 million people per year. And that is what we can compare ourselves to as a country. We can only compare ourselves to Mombasa. We were doing about, before COVID, about 1.8, going towards to 2 million people at our airport. And we only have one airport.
By June 2021, on average, Ministry of Health was testing 4,000 people a day, of whom 1,400 tested positive. However, positive cases have since reduced, despite categorizing high alert countries for mandatory testing.
According to Ministry of Health, two of our biggest challenges in as far as COVID spread is concerned, in terms of countries, were said to be Kenya and Southern Sudan. Now, the biggest numbers of travelers actually pass through our porous borders, and there seems to be no interest in those porous borders. As far as I'm concerned, there's just interest at the airport because they assume that everyone at the airport can pay.
Some of Wekesa's recommendations include improving the internet infrastructure at the airport, while allowing fully vaccinated travelers that tested negative 3 days before traveling into the country.
Number one is that if someone has been vaccinated and someone has done a PCR test 72 hours before they come to the airport, they should be allowed to come into the country. Why? The airline companies have vested interest in making sure that you actually have that PCR before you come to Uganda. And that means you have lesser chances of having problems passing through the airport. Number two, if you have taken one jab and you have done your PCR test 72 hours, what we do recommend is that you do an antigen test, which takes between 10 to 15 COVID-19 means, but only if you have done one job. Now, if you have not done a vaccination and you have done a testing before leaving your country to come to Uganda, you should do a PCR at Entebbe Airport. At the same time, you should be allowed to go to your hotel and results sent to you.
According to the New York Times vaccination tracker, by 1st November 2021, only 3,269,568 Ugandans had been fully vaccinated, which represents 0.9% of Uganda's population. Wadulo Makanood.
Thank you very much.
UBC News in Mutungo.
In another development, a new development effective 5th November 2021, all arriving passengers at Entebbe Airport will be allowed to go home after testing and self-isolate until they receive results. Previously, while passengers arrived, they were required to camp at the airport as they await their results. But according to the Health Minister, Jen Ruth Cheng, this has been revised. She was updating Parliament on government's new measures at airport to curb the spread of COVID-19.
Speaker, today in our meeting, after having reviewed all the available information and noted that out of the 7,363 people tested, in 5 days, 34 tested positive. We resolved as follows. We shall allow travelers to go home and self-isolate after a sample has been removed. NITA-U will develop a tracking system within 2 days, that is tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, and make it available for tracking the on average 5 cases per day. Travelers will be required to provide adequate information for easy traceability. So from the 5th of November, travelers will be allowed to go home after testing. The ministry will strengthen the surveillance system and follow up of all the identified positive cases. In conclusion, allow me to appreciate the teams working at the airport, to appreciate those who have provided information, and to state clearly that we regret the inconvenience that has happened to the travelers. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and thank you for...
Now, higher institutions of learning reopened for physical classes in a staggering manner in order to comply to standard operating procedures for COVID-19, especially maintaining social distance. The Vice-Chancellor, Makerere University, Barnabas Nawangwe, said they have come out with a program that will see students appear for physical classes and also attend online lectures during this second semester.
Higher institutions of learning were busy at the opening on November 1st as students stand up to start attending physical classes. At Makerere University, the Vice-Chancellor Barnabas Nawangwe said that they are receiving students in staggered manner to observe standard operating procedures. On the first day of reopening, Makerere University received all graduate students, final year undergraduate students and first year undergraduate students. The graduate and final year undergraduate will physically start for 2 weeks and sit examinations because they have been studying online since August.
We are going to study physically for 2 weeks and then sit examinations. Remember that they have been studying since August. So they are not just coming to study for 2 weeks. They have been studying for about 3 weeks online. Now they have opportunity to study for 2 weeks physically, and that will cover things like the practicals, those who have got laboratory practicals and such things, and also for the lecturers to be able maybe to explain some concepts that students may not have understood during the online.
First year students being received will study for 1 month and return home on 24th December to continue studying online. After the graduate and final year undergraduate students leave, the university will on 27th November receive the rest of all continuing students like those in second year who will study until 24th December.
All the second year and other continuing students will come here on 27th. They will study until 24th December. They go away for a small recess. On 3rd January, the first years and the second years and other continuing students will come back and sit examinations for 2 weeks. Then we have about 2 weeks of those who need the recess term and such things. We use those 2 weeks, and then immediately after that, we start the new academic year.
Unlike other universities which have lost the whole 2 years, Makerere lost only 6 months.
Actually, we were not stopped from doing research. While the university was closed for teaching and so on, research continued. The government actually continued giving us money for research. And you remember, at the height of COVID, there were so many innovations coming out of Makerere regarding COVID-19. But apart from that, for the first time, our number of research publications crossed 1,000 mark per year.
The time for starting evening lectures has also been adjusted to comply to curfew time. I'm Navka Farida in Kampala.
Thank you very much there, Namfuka Farida. Now, the Prime Minister, Robina Nabbanja, has reiterated that she is doing her roles very well as a leader of government business as mandated by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda under Article 108. Nabbanja was responding to journalists at Parliament after a leaked letter in social media signed by Minister for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Hilary Onek, accusing Nabbanja of usurping his powers. The letter shows that Minister Onek could resign.
In a letter dated October 29, 2021, Minister for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Hilary Onek, says he will resign because the Prime Minister Robina Nabbanja has usurped all roles of his office. Onek added that Nabbanja has also purged the Department of Disaster Management, taken over the distribution of relief items, and caused interdiction of staff members without investigation. But the Prime Minister Robina Nabbanja told journalists at Parliament that her office had not received the letter except on social media.
I have not seen the letter. If the minister decided to address me in social media, that is different. It is indiscipline. But I have not seen the letter. Maybe he was still formulating it. But people are telling me the signature on the letter is his. My office and his are near each other. We have had a number of meetings. Sometimes he doesn't attend. Even today he did not attend.
Nabbanja clarified that residents will not be tolerated in her term of office.
I want members to appreciate that we are changing the mode of how we operate. The other day you saw me with the First Lady trying to struggle to make sure that we have teachers in schools. Was I usurping our powers? The other day you saw me with Honorable Katumba Wamala struggling to make sure that people don't do soda work. The other day you saw me in Buyende trying to see that the fisheries department can deliver to the people. You remember we have the ice plant that has failed to get completed since 2015. I remember the other day I was with the Minister of Health when we were handling mandatory testing. I've been to Mulago Hospital to see that our people get the best. And I think I'm doing very well when it comes to my roles. And I know my boundaries.
Nevertheless, the legislators want the two ministers to respect each other's roles.
If you are going to donate anything in relation to disaster, you inform them, at least such that they can also make their own contribution. The contribution may not be necessarily physical.
The Prime Minister needs to know clearly what her roles are and what the roles of the other ministers are. And if she wants to move into an area that concerns another minister, the Prime Minister must move with this minister.
Therefore, all these others in the ministry are doing their work in support of the Prime Minister. You know, she's the one with that general mandate. So they just need to support. They just need to support her other than just complaining, you know.
I told you at the onset of my term of office that we shall not allow laziness.
Bernard Yiga, Parliament.
The Iron Lady indeed. We're going to take a short break, but do not go away. News Tonight returns.
Today in history.
On 2nd November 1972, 4 Ugandan soldiers taken as prisoners of war during the 1971 fight between Uganda and Tanzania at Mutukula were handed over to Uganda. During the battle, Uganda captured 187 Tanzanian soldiers as prisoners, while Tanzania took 4 Ugandan soldiers. Sulaiman Amule, Ali Ramadan, Ali Nasur, and Gala are the Ugandan prisoners of war that were handed over to Major Isaac Maliamungu, the then acting commander of the 2nd Infantry.
Grow together with one of Uganda's largest companies. Apply for MTN shares for as low as 100,000 Uganda shillings. And when you apply using MTN Mobile Money, you get 10 free extra shares for every 100 shares you apply for. Dial *165*65# or use the MyMTN app to apply now. The terms and conditions of the offer and other important information are set out in the prospectus. For assistance, visit any MTN service center or Stanbic Bank branch countrywide or a licensed broker.
Wano tutandikide tutandise ne meja ejjudeko ebirungo ebya buli kakati njagala wekkaanya kabaka yajja okuva ku saidi omukimumbaasa akutte mu jjolo bano be bayita bakakujje wabula kyonna kyagenda okukola mukama yamanyi kagenda mu kaseera kano yajja bambi n'asooka akwata ebbakuli n'ateekamu buli kimu kyonna ky'omanyi ekiyitibwa ebirungo njagala wekkaanya kakano webityo bibadde ebyolwaleero eruda nga bagamba ngenda kusaba olindirire ekijjulo makeke bakabulaza bonna mubayite ne kabaka n'asemberero kaggala mukama abankuumire.
Introducing the all-new Roofing's TMX 500C rebars with cut and bend surfaces. Roofing's, strength of a nation.
Transact using Airtel Money. Use Airtel Money to send money, buy airtime for self, do mobile banking, make merchant payments and international money transfers with a minimum of 1,000 shillings and get 5 minutes free Airtel to Airtel calls valid for 24 hours. 3 minutes offer is for any of these fast 5 transactions within the same calendar month. Terms and conditions apply. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Everyone is talking about MTN shares.
I am Jenny Kafulua Shares, and I am here to show you how you can get them. First, you need a Securities Central Depository account, or SCD account in short, and you can open one right now using MTN Momo. It's free of charge. Just get your phone and your national ID, and let me show you how. Now, why do you need an SCD account? Well, because every time you get shares in any company, well, including MTN, your shares are going to be kept in this account. But this is not a bank account, and you don't need to go anywhere to open it. So is your phone and your national ID ready? Good. Let me show you how to open your SCD account. First, dial *165*65# or use my MTN app. Then select option 1 to submit SCD account application. Then enter your full national ID number or NIN. Next, select your preferred stockbroker and then choose option 1 to accept the terms and conditions. Lastly, enter your mobile money PIN and wait for confirmation, which you will receive on SMS. Oh, by the way, stockbrokers are the people authorized to help you buy or sell any listed company shares, so you need to choose one. That's it. Once you have your SCD account, you're ready to start applying for your MTN shares for as low as 100,000 shillings for 500 shares.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Kagano twalekedde ekyatulese tuzze tukalanga enfunda eziwerako ddala eno ye GoTV Super ey'abakaguje njagala wekkaanyi ewatali kwemamaaza olwo tuba tusimbudde ne GoTV Super dupa waawawa era nga bakutuusaako ekiga ekyabakabejja abasajja eŋŋwaŋŋuli kw'ogatta ne busineema obujjudde omuhabati ku $5,015 waawawa soka bulaza weefunye ekirungo kya GoTV Super ekijjudde obulungi ove mu baaje.
Pay bills using Airtel Money. Make any bill payment within a month with a minimum of 5,000 Uganda shillings and get 10 minutes free Airtel to Airtel calls valid for 24 hours. Dial *185*4# or use the My Airtel app to pay for water, buy yaka, pay TV, and so much more. Terms and conditions apply. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
Come back from that short break. It's time for us to look at what's happening in business as we cross over to Bukalasa. The refurbishment and construction of a structure on plot 1 of Bukalasa Agricultural College has been completed and handed over to the college management. The building, funded by World Bank through the Uganda Skills Development Project, costs 9.3 billion Ugandan shillings. Let's hear more in this report.
Version of the classrooms, laboratories and college farm is geared at creating a conducive environment for the learners.
Have enough laboratories. We also didn't have enough space where we train from. If you go to, for example, to the farms, there are some that we are missing there. We have a milking, milk processing plant. It's actually almost a full industry. We also have a feed processing mill. All these, we would incur a lot of expenses taking learners outside.
The initiative constitutes nearly 100% revamp of the college that has about 1,500 students.
The Skilling Uganda project, it is a government initiative that is meant to make it possible for every Ugandan to be skilled, to have a skill that they can live with. And if I can reiterate the words of the President, he says development comes when everyone has a skill. So when everyone has a skill, the industry will grow, agriculture will grow.
The current project that is been handed over today was under Vambeko Enterprises Limited as contractor. This is about 9.4 billion that has been run by Vambeko. And also the one for the construction of the new library is about 9 billion as well.
About 1,500 students. Through the $100 million Uganda Skills Development Project, government is turning 6 TVET colleges across the country into the centers of excellence that offers competency-based training. Dennis Ikoa and Charlotte Amuge for UBC News.
Sports Uganda will this Thursday host the Queen's Baton Relay, which is a once-in-a-4-year activity that precedes the Commonwealth Games. The baton will move through all 72 nations and territories of the Commonwealth purposely to promote unity.
The Queen's Baton Relay is a tradition that celebrates, connects and excites communities from across the Commonwealth during the build-up to the Commonwealth Games. It has already been to 8 nations including Cyprus, Malta and Ghana, and arrives in Uganda this Thursday.
Here really is to use this opportunity when the baton is here to shine light on the baton but also on the values of the Commonwealth as well as the upcoming Games.
It carries a message from the Queen that will be read out at the opening ceremony of the Games in Birmingham on 28th July 2022.
The special strength of our Commonwealth family lies in the values and aspirations of the Commonwealth Charter. And Birmingham 2022 will bring together all the equal and independent Commonwealth countries in a spirit of friendly competition and celebration of the Commonwealth family's rich diversity and shared goals of democracy, development and peace.
When in Uganda, the baton will visit State House, Parliament and Ngamba Island Chimpanzee Sanctuary, among others.
We also have a guided tour at the Uganda Wildlife Education Center, UWEC, in Entebbe, and then some other activities along the equator, which is also part of promoting Uganda and what we have.
Uganda has taken part in the Games since 1954 and collected 16 gold and silver medals, with the 21 bronze medals bringing the total collection to 53. Athletics and boxing have been responsible for the joy and will again lead the cast of other sports disciplines at the Games next year. John Barnes, Sentamo, reporting.
And that does bring us to the end of our bulletin this very evening. But before we do the sign out, let's have a recap on our headlines.
Brought to you by
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
To carry out COVID-19 clinical trials next year. Makerere University has a program for students to appear for classes. And on the international scene, China urges families to keep stock of daily necessities ahead of winter. And lastly, in sports, Commonwealth Games, Uganda is ready to receive Queen's Baton.
Was brought to you by
Everywhere you go, MTN.
For keeping it with us. Once again, my name is Patricia Lukoma Mpango and Elizabeth Nakakoni was with us on sign language. Let's meet again at 10 o'clock.
Good evening. My name is Uchiyama Takayuki. I'm a Chief Representative